Okay, here we are, part two of firing up the Voyager 12 by Hawkins Amplification. Trial run. This is the first one, prototype. Schematic was a long time in design. Looking for the ultimate combo amp in a clean platform or dirty overdrive from the amp itself. But either way, we're still in the firing this thing up phase, so the last part I fired it up with no rectifier or power tubes just to make sure the transformer and the power switch was wired correctly. So now I have the rectifier tube in, and now we're going to fire this up, and we're going to start pulling some voltages. Here we go. At this point, I'll basically just be heating up the rectifier tube, sending power to the standby switch, but no power to the filter capacitors yet, or to the main power supply for the power tubes and preamp tubes. Just heaters on at this point, and the rectifier tube is heating up, so we have good heater there. I'll go back later and we'll test heater voltages, but that's usually never a problem. As with any tube, give it a minute or two to warm up, and then you can turn that sucker on and go. Rectifier tube, good minute. And we'll take some voltages coming out of the tube off the secondary power supply wire coming out right here. And I'd like to know why this is heating up. Do not stick your hands in an amplifier and start poking around if you don't know what you're doing, because I know you've heard the disclaimer a million times. There's lethal voltages in here. Trust me, I know. I've been zapped by that. I have learned. For a long time I used rubber gloves, silicone gloves, where I was insulated. I won't be touching anything metal at this time. I'm not good at this, so I've done this a lot, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm going to hit this negative lead here. I'm going to flip the standby switch, actually before I even think about taking a voltage. Anytime I fire up an amp and fire up filter capacitors for the first time, I do it from a distance. I know I've wired them correctly, but it's just a habit. If you've ever seen a capacitor explode, you don't want to be in that path of fire, trust me. So I'm going to flip the standby switch, and if she smokes, you get to see it. Definitely would have blown something by this time. I'm going to peek around here just in case something's smoking. Usually about now you'd start seeing smoke at this time. If a resistor is out of spec or something is reverse polarity that shouldn't be. And we're looking good, so looks like a good schematic on the first run here, power supply wise anyway. So I got my meter here. We're going to take some voltages. I'm going to hit this ground node. My hands are not touching this chassis. And this is where it becomes tricky, if you slip, anything like that, you could have 500 or more volts, DC volts running through your body. That will stop a heart. I am at 396 volts coming out of the rectifier. That's pretty strong. I'm going to hit this first node here, 397, very good. B2 would be second node of the power supply, no drop as you go down, 379. B3, we got 347, and B4 power supply, we've got 330 exactly. A little high for some of the preamp, but that's not bad. It'll still run. It'll be hot, and that might be just exactly what we're after. So at this point, looks like everything's working really good. We won't have no measurement on the cathode here for the power tubes without those in there, so we can't really take any performance readings yet, but that'll be the next stage. We'll put some power tubes in it, and we'll see how it's running. We'll get some milliamps, and we'll get some percent dissipation. Thank you.